Everyone, I hope you are well. My name is Anthonina Fenelon, and I am with the Massachusetts Affordable Homeownership Alliance, better known as MAHA in the community, and I am the director of the STASH program. So just one moment.
While Antonina's setting up, guys, hold on. You will receive a copy of, if not presentations, because not everyone can share their actual presentation, it will be a flyer with information based on what they covered tonight, or you'll get the presentation, and I'll also send you links to each respective website so you can find it there and know how to apply and connect with people, and you'll get some other resources, because like I said, we're talking about just a few tonight, but there are across the state a lot of towns that offer down payment assistance. So I'm going to share with you guys that link so that you can find the towns that you're interested in and see if they have down payment assistance, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thank you for your patience. So STASH. STASH stands for Sustainable Program for first-gen home buyers. So STASH is, in essence, a program outside of the Massachusetts Affordable Homeownership Alliance, and MAHA focuses primarily on first-time home buyer education. We also offer courses on owning a condo and what condo homeownership looks like, as well as landlord homeownership. So those are extra classes that we really encourage clients to start with before they continue on to a program like STASH or in the home buying process. And so the way that STASH works is if you identify as a first-generation, first-time home buyer, we have the financial education and grant resources to help you purchase your first home in Massachusetts. This program started back in 2019, where we started primarily in Boston. And our program is really just based on grant resources. So once we get donations, we honor that to different to different first-time home buyers throughout our state. First generation definition is for someone who, along with their parents or spouse, have never owned a home in the US or has lost a home due to foreclosure. Okay, so we know there are many people who are saying, hey, my parents own, I'm not likely to get equity. Unfortunately, that means that you're ineligible for our program. But if you are first gen, your parents have never owned a home, they continue to rent, you would be eligible for our program, along with having taken the first time home buyer course. We find that it's really important that you invest in the education to understand what the different requirements are of you to become a first-time home buyer, and also that you've gone through the education. You've heard from the different experts that make the home buying process feasible, so that you can understand whether or not this is a journey that you want to embark on. Once you've taken the first-time home buyer class, you identify as a first-generation home buyer, we do assess income. And so like many other presenters that spoke with you this evening, you have to have less than 100% AMI for the town in which you live. Okay, so that doesn't necessarily mean you have to live in Boston, you have to live in Worcester. It just means that your income has to be below 100% AMI for that specific county. And STASH is a grant program that's different from the mortgage products. And I'll show you in just 2 more slides what that really means. You want to be home buyer ready. Okay, it's really important that if you're joining STASH, you're saying, hey, I have the savings, I've taken the education, I need support. All right, I'm mortgage ready, I have my credit score, I have my savings, I just need support through the process. I need a little bit more understanding, I need a little bit more guidance. If that's you, then STASH is a program that you should apply for. Part of STASH is being that you have to make a minimum deposit of $2,000 in our savings account. And so STASH is also a match savings program, which means that you save $2,000 in an account that we open for you, and then you'll get a match up to $10,000 or $20,000, depending on where you live, and also depending on where we have grant resources. Okay, and so your liquid assets, so the funds that you have in any account, cannot exceed $100,000. Okay, so we're not talking about retirement. We're talking about in your savings, stocks, those type of assets cannot exceed 100% AMI. So As of May 2025, we continue to have funds for the city of Boston and the city of Salem at this time. In the city of Boston, you can get access to 10,000 or 20,000, but it does depend on the type of resources that you have. So if you're getting down payment resources from other cities and towns, that's going to be important for us to know. And then if you're looking to purchase in the city of Salem, we have $20,000 grants. Now, our program started in 2019. With just $2,000 grants. We have grown over the last 6 years, and we have expanded across the state. However, due to funding, we've helped over 140 people buy homes last year, providing $20,000 grants across the state. And we do hope that we do hope that the fundraising efforts that our executive director and continuously fundraising around the state would help us increase our funding pool so that we can offer more. So if you're on the call today and you're saying, hey, I'm actually interested in Orange, Massachusetts, do you offer grants for people buying in Orange, Mass? We do not offer grants for that town specifically, but we might have a donor who will say, hey, I want to give you $100,000, and that means that I would have a grant for someone who is buying outside of the city. So it is strictly depending on funds, but anybody who knows me knows that I go really hard for the clients that are in our program. And when we can, we absolutely will try our very best to fund you because we understand the need for down payment assistance. So outside of our grant resources, how is our program structured? You must meet our eligibility requirements. We offer our program bi-monthly. There's one mandatory info session that you must attend in person, and we're located in Dorchester. And then there's going to be 3 financial literacy seminars that are offered on Zoom. You have to save that $2,000, and that goes towards the purchase of your home. And Stash is also a 3-year program. So we understand that it takes some people longer. And so sometimes that means that, hey, you're working on your credit. That means, hey, I need to increase my income so that I can actually afford a higher purchase price or pre-approval amount, right? So we understand that for many clients, they can buy in 6 months who are coming through the door. Other clients need a little bit help and guidance. And so we allot that time for them to buy their home. You have to buy your home in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and our grant funds are first come, first serve. But our support and our assistance, meaning there's a team of 3 of us that help all of our clients through the home buying process. You will have our support whether you have a grant or not. And a lot of our clients have said like that's the most invaluable part is that Anthonina will get on the phone with me and I will help you kind of just look at homes, consider your pre-approval, go over a purchase and sales agreement, or go over a closing disclosure, right? I'm really there to support my clients because these are first-time home buyers. And if you were a first-gen college student, you remember how challenging it was, and maybe you needed a counselor, maybe you needed support. And so we basically do the same thing through the home buying process. We support the client. We guide them through the closing from the minute they're in our program to the minute they're closed. And again, your income cannot exceed $100,000. So, oopsie. Okay, so what is the preferred home buying process? We really want everyone who's going to buy a home to take the education. So investing your time in a first-time home buyer education, that first-time home buyer course, so that you understand what it takes to buy a home. Then there is one-on-one counseling offered through the agencies where you took that first-time home buyer course. And maybe that means sitting down with that facilitator of the course and putting together an action plan, looking at your credit report together, creating that budget so you can really see, I took the class, now what does that mean for my finances? So diving deep into your financing. What does the budget savings strategy need to be in order for me to get to home ownership? And then you're applying to Stash if that's an option for you. Similar to other grants and loans that are out there, Stash is an option. Stash is not the only option for home ownership, but it is an option if you would like to be a part of our program. Then you'll go on to work with the lender to get a pre-approval, and then you'll go on to buying your home. Okay, so Stash works with your team of home buying experts. So that means if you become a participant of our program, we're continuously talking to your lender, we're working with your attorney, we're talking to your realtor. If you don't understand something, I'm going back to your lender, I'm saying, hey, my client Denisha doesn't understand. Can you please explain this to me so that I can connect with her and explain it to her? So we are there throughout the entire process. And so the picture at the bottom is us, all of us working together as a team on your behalf. And then I want you to think about the mortgage down payment grants and loans as a sandwich. And I often put this on my class because you're the person holding the sandwich. It's all about you. What you're going to pay on a monthly basis is up to you. What mortgage product you choose is all up to you. What grant loans you choose is all up to you because you're going to pay that every month. You're making that 30-year commitment, but your bread is your mortgage product. So you want to be mindful of what type of bread, what type of mortgage you use, because it can be the end all be all for yourself. It can be really expensive over the term. Fixed, whether you do a fixed mortgage or if you do an adjustable mortgage, if you do FHA versus doing 1+, right? So you really want to dive into which mortgage is best for you long term, because we don't know what tomorrow will bring, that you can make that affordable for yourself. So diving in to make that choice. Then your deli meat are the down payment assistance grants. That means free money for you, right? So you want to understand, what are the grant options for yourself? How are you going to make this a part of your sandwich? And then your lettuce and tomatoes are your DPA loans. If you have to take out a loan for your home, a down payment assistance type of loan, like mass housing discussed, then you want to determine if that's something that you really need. Can you find it somewhere else? And two things that I didn't mention on this slide were some of your unions. Some of the unions will provide grants and resources, or maybe cover your attorney fees. If you're a teacher and you're in a teachers union, sometimes they have benefits for clients or for employees, that are going to buy their home. So you want to dive deep and do your research for homeownership, right? And so where to get DPA in the form of grants or loans? There's nonprofits, there's banks, there's credit unions, there's towns and municipalities, right? Different towns offer down payment assistance. Everett, the town of Everett, the town and city of Salem has grants. Some of them have loans. So you want to call around, as I mentioned, unions, employee benefits, research these grants and loans, okay? And then there's other examples of DPA. There's Stash. Urban Edge has their own. Common Square CDC has their own. Match Savings Program at Lawrence Community Works, right? So each organization, each entity will have some form of a match savings program. Sometimes it's even if you get your credit over 10 to 20 points, there is some resources, some funds. If you open up a bank account with, like Metro Credit Union has, if you get the mortgage through them and you also open up a savings account, they'll give you $1,500 towards your closing costs. So there's certain benefits and perks that you want to ask the banks that you choose to work with. You want to ask the organizations in the community, and you want to find out about the city and towns where you're looking to purchase your home. And last but not least, a quick summary of where we are as far as Stash. So we help first-time homebuyers, first-generation homebuyers, build a strong foundation in credit, savings, and budgeting while guiding them through the entire home buying process. Our down payment assistance is available for homes where our funds remain. So currently that's Boston and Salem. However, if you're in our program, we update and we inform folks of how much grants we have, which towns we have funds for as well, on an ongoing basis. If you participate in Stash, you get that guidance and coaching through the home buying process, from participation in our program to the day you decide that you don't want to be in our program, or until your closing. And that initial deposit of $2,000 is refundable if you decide to walk away from the process because it's an emotional roller coaster, it's too hard, or you just decide, you know what, I'm better off being a renter. By making that informed decision, that's fine. And we're happy to support you through your next steps in continuous coaching on money management, budgeting, savings, credit, as you see fit. So we're accepting applications. We will be accepting our applications for our November cohort. We currently are getting ready to start our September cohort that starts next month. But we will be taking applications for our November cohort. And so if you're interested in Stash today, please email us at stash@mahahome.org to request a program application. And we'll be taking applications for September and October, and then we will be making final decisions on who makes the cohort in October for a November start. And that's all. Thank you so much. Are there questions?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anthonina. One question was that I saw if they could save more than the $2,000 in their account. Is there any benefit to doing that?
No, there's not a benefit to saving more than $2,000. So if you save $2,000, you can get a grant of 10 or 20. So you don't have to save up to 10 or save up to $20,000 of your own funds. You make an initial deposit of $2,000 towards the grant, and we provide the higher grant. I encourage clients all the time to put more money in a high yield savings account. That's where your money's going to grow on its own. It's not a brick and mortar savings account at your local Bank of America Citizens Bank, right? That account is going to grow interest. And so we really encourage you for every more dollars that you want to put in that account, let's work together, choose a high yield savings, and I'll help you with that.
Awesome. And then you mentioned that right now you just have funding for Salem and Boston. If I live in Amherst or I live in Worcester, can I still be a part of Stash even though you don't have funding yet, or do I have to wait until you have funding before I register or take the
Oh,
program?
that's a great question. We have clients from all over our state participate in our program. So you can be in Amherst. We've helped clients in Western Mass purchase their homes as well. And so if you're in Amherst, you're in Orange, Mass, you can be any part of Massachusetts and participate in our program.
Okay, awesome. So you hear that, guys. So it doesn't matter if you do not live in Boston or Salem, register if you are a first generation home buyer, first time home buyer, because if funding becomes available, we'll claim it. When funding becomes
Yeah.
available, you want to buy, then you will be ready and you won't have to do the mad dash to try to find a course or to be in a cohort before you have a home under agreement. Okay. If someone can't apply for the grants because they are not a first generation home buyer, can someone just apply to get access to Stash's first time home buyer counseling services? Yes, but I would say wherever you're taking your class. So if you're taking your first time home buyers class, there's tons of CHAPA approved programs out there. We'll share the link with you so you can register because there might be one that's closer to where you live. You're entitled to a counseling session with them. So you're not limited at
Yeah,
all.
so at Stash, we can't specifically counsel you because that's not how it works. Where you take your first time home buyer class, they're obligated to give you counseling. And I would tell you to find a counselor at that organization that you gel with, that is your fit, and they're supposed to be able to support you through the closing process. Yeah.
Someone asked about, you were talking about the high yield savings account.
Mhm.
And if you had any recommendations, I know Leader Bank, they have a high yield savings account right now that's giving you 5% on your money, every year. That's phenomenal. I have not seen anyone with more, even when I do a national search. I just Google high yield savings account and see what pops up and research kind of what their, uh, restrictions or minimums are, because some of them may say you need to deposit $10,000. Some may have no minimum, so you can deposit $1 and start saving. So read through them. Just Google high yield savings account. I'll put it in the chat. But I know Leader Bank right now for Massachusetts, they are at 5%. I personally have Ally Bank, and they dropped. They're at 3.5% right now. But
Yeah.
it's
So I'd say any interest rate that's over a penny that you're getting from your regular banks is fine
right.
to make your money grow. I typically recommend Capital One, Barclays, or SoFi for high yield savings accounts. And you can go on and read the terms, as Denisha mentioned, what the minimum amount is, and just leave the money in there and just let it grow and just, direct deposit right into those accounts, out of mind, out of sight, and just build that savings because that's important for when you're buying a home and post purchase. So that's one of the things through Stash Counseling that you'll get and support is that we really encourage clients to not only have that down payment and closing cost amount to get into the home, but we say, okay, once you buy this home, what does post purchase look like? Because that budgeting and saving and all those habits you developed, if you had to clear off your debt to get the house, it's not really wise for you to go build on credit, build on debt to furnish your home, right? Like that's not advantageous, because now you have this new mortgage payment, you have the repairs because you can no longer call your landlord, etc. So it's just really important that you are money smart going in and money smart throughout the journey of becoming a homeowner.
Amen. Yes. The goal is not for you just to get the house, right? You have to keep the house. So if you are doing the bare minimum just to get in, especially if it's not a brand new house and something breaks, what happens if you move in and a month later the water heater goes? right? So you need to have money to purchase and then money to maintain that house after. And no, you don't need to have, $50,000 saved after the fact, but you do need to be on a path of financial discipline where you're saving consistently every month so that when these things happen, you are prepared. Okay. And that's what being in the home buyers classes, it helps and educates you on that. But more importantly, if you know you need help, schedule a time to meet with one of the counselors so they can look at your finances and help you come up with a plan specific to what you need, right? Because what you need may be very different from what I need. Um, can you take money out of a high yield savings account when you need it, or do they penalize you? They do not for a high yield savings account. CDs are the ones that usually have penalties if you take it out before a certain time. The high yield, it's a savings account. Some of them may have limits in terms of how often you can take money out of them before they charge you a fee. So they may allow, 5 withdrawals a month or something like that. So just read their fine print. They'll all have kind of what their guidelines are, so you can see because they will vary.
And I'll say for Stash, if you decide that you're no longer interested in participating in our program and you're choosing to move out of state, because we have many of clients who've chosen to do that, we will withdraw your funds. And in order for you to re-enroll into our program, let's say you decide in 6 months or a year, actually, I'm ready to get back on the home buying journey. We ask for just a 6 months grace period between leaving our program and starting our program again, but you're more than welcome to re-enroll at any time. And because we know that again, life is a journey and home ownership might be something that you started and then you have to walk away from for your own peace of mind and mental health. And then you have to, and then you choose to kind of jump back in again when maybe interest rates are lowered or your income or your savings situation has changed.
Yes, thank you. And then, man, I just forgot the question just there. Keep going. It'll come back.
Does Dash Mass Grants work with
Oh,
Habitat for Humanity programs? Yes, we have funded multiple Habitat for Humanity program transactions. Um, in the past when we had statewide funds. And so if we have more statewide funds or a Habitat for Humanity home is being built in Boston or Salem, you should definitely reach out to us. And also, I will just say that, clients, I really encourage you all who are going through the home buying process to really sort out your financial assistance prior to getting into a transaction. Before you say yes to the house, make sure that you have the financial resources, you're navigating that before you put an offer and it's accepted, because then you're tied into legal documents and deadlines and finances that, coming to Stash last minute really makes it a difficult situation for us because we have our program processes and documents that need to be completed, and then the educational hours that have to be completed before a grant can be honored. So just make sure that you understand what the down payment assistance resources, processes are before you go out and make an offer on a home and you're depending on a grant or a loan to come through and it doesn't because you've already said yes to the house or you're too far in the transaction. So
I agree 1,000%. So you need to know and have a plan before you start the process. This is why having a loan officer who's knowledgeable, having an agent who's knowledgeable about all of these programs and products is so critical, and understanding how they work and how to navigate them. A question that came up in the chat, and I actually had it here. I think I elaborate a little bit more. They were asking if you, just to confirm, you need to be a first generation home buyer. And what does that mean
yes.
specifically?
So first gen means that you have always rented. You've never owned a home. Your parents have never owned a home. So your mama, your daddy, they don't own. Your spouse's mother or father does not own. They're not married to someone that owns, right? And so you are the first generation. Your siblings can own because they're likely in the same generation as you, but your parents, the generation prior, right? And so by us targeting first generation, first time home buyers, we're really trying to think through, well, which generation, which is likely the generation before you, was impacted by redlining, who was less likely to give access to homes because of the way mortgages were written, because of the discrimination and insurances and mortgage lending 50 some odd years ago. So you have to be first gen, meaning you are the first person in your family to buy a home. But again, your siblings can own, but your parents cannot have owned a home.
And what happens if I'm an immigrant? What happens if your parents own in another country, but not in America?
That's fine because we're only focused on the US.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. And then for our grants, once you're in our program used to be 12 months long, and we made it like literally 4 days or sometimes just a week. And so we can initiate a grant after that class. So it's really quick. We don't take long. We just need to know who your team is. There are some financial documents that we need to get from the lender to confirm that you are buying a property. And that's all part of the meetings that we'll have together. That's all a part of funding the transaction. So there needs to be communication between us and your team of experts.
And guys, that you can combine all of these programs. So Stash can be combined with the City of Boston's down payment assistance and Mass Housing's down payment assistance. So we say you can stack them, and part of the goal is, this is why you're here tonight, is to learn about the various programs so you can start thinking to ask these questions, right? So you can say, okay, well, what programs can I stack? I've seen people stack where they get $50,000, $100,000. I have someone who is almost at $200,000 in terms of stacking all of these different programs because they were just researching and putting it together and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So this is where it's you doing some research, and then your team, because they're knowledgeable, they're going to be able to connect you to all of these resources.